Okay, so the meeting's about to begin. If I can have everyone's attention, please, and we start taking our seats. Awesome. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, for the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee for August 11th. Welcome back from hopefully an awesome summer for everyone. Just will ask first, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Councillor Michaud?
Yes, thank you. I have a conflict with item 5.3, the official plan amendment application for 132 Fairway Road North due to my place of employment.
Okay, all right, thank you. We'll take that into account. And there's no consent items. I'll head to item 3.1, private naming, street naming. There isn't? Oh, that is the consent item, right? Yeah. Can I get a mover for the consent item? Councillor Davey. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Just a quick announcement for delegations. Note for delegations who have registered for a meeting this day to all delegations city values and encourages participation and dialogue in a democratic process that occurs in council and committee meetings and through written submissions and correspondence. It is important that these interactions remain respectful towards other members of the public, staff, and council. In case where dialogue is not respectful or a delegate interrupts councillor, staff, or other delegations, makes derogatory statements about councillors, staff, or other that are disrespectful, or uses hate speech or language that is considered harmful or defamatory, the chair may interject and take necessary actions to maintain respectful and inclusive environment for everyone, which could involve removal from the meeting. One last reminder, delegations are permitted to address council for a maximum of 5 minutes, which will be displayed on the screen in front of you. When there is a 30-second remaining on your time, you will hear a small audio tone that will signal 30 seconds remaining. Please take that time to conclude your presentation, as there will be a second tone at the completion of your time and the microphone will turn off shortly after the exceeded 5-minute mark. Lastly, please do not take offense if following your presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas shared with us from our community members. And we are first going to head into our public hearing matter under the Planning Act, which is as advertised. As a note, this is a formal public meeting to consider applications under the Planning Act in accordance with the Ontario Planning Act. Only the applicant or the owner of land affected by the planning application or a specified person, a public body, or the minister may appeal most decisions. If you do not make a verbal submission to the committee or council or make written submissions prior to city council making a decision on the proposal, you may not be entitled to appeal a decision of the City of Kitchener to the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT, and may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the OLT. To understand your rights of the appeal, if any, or for further clarifications regarding appeals, please see the Ontario Land Tribunal website, which is https://olt.gov.on.ca. Our first item is 5.1, draft plan submission modification, and that is for 468 Trustor Road, Activa Holding Inc. And we have staff presenting on this one. Mr. Pinnell, I believe you have 5 minutes. Go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. The subject lands are addressed as 468 Trustor Road and are located within the Laurentian West planning community. The lands are vacant, irregular in shape, and are bounded by Highway 78 to the north, Trustor Road to the west, a stormwater management block to the south, and the lands to the east are planned for low-density residential development. The lands on the opposite side of Trustor Road in Wilmot Township are occupied by an equestrian establishment. The subject lands are identified as Stage 4 of Draft Plan of Subdivision 30T08204. The Draft Plan of Subdivision was originally draft approved by the Ontario Municipal Board in 2015, along with an OPA, or Official Plan Amendment, and Zoning Bylaw Amendment, or ZBA. The overall subdivision comprises 4 stages and features low-rise residential land uses, a school site, woodland, parks, trails, pumping station, stormwater management facilities, and roads. The applicant is requesting to modify the final stage of the draft plan, that is stage 4, for multiple residential, open space, trail, and road widening purposes. Only the conditions would be modified through this modification, not the plan itself. The purpose of the modification is to delete conditions related to a holding provision within the zoning bylaw which requires development to comply with minimum distance separation, or MDS, formulae for the equestrian establishment located on the west side of Tressler Road. Under the Provincial Planning Statement, or PPS, MDS cannot legally be applied to the subject lands anymore, which are within an existing settlement area. The province's policies do not apply to require MDS within settlement areas. In their place, a subdivision condition would be added to require a clause to be included in all future agreements of purchase and sale and all future lease/rental agreements to notify prospective purchasers and renters of potential odors and to ensure that central air conditioning is installed in each of the units to allow windows and doors to remain closed during warmer weather so that occupants can avoid odors. In addition to being established within the subdivision conditions, the MDS requirement related to the equestrian establishment is further entrenched through a specific policy, that is number 24 in the 2014 official plan. This says, in any development within the identified area will comply with the minimum distance separation formula for any equestrian facility located west of Tressler Road in Wilmot Township. The MDS requirement is also included in a site-specific provision in the zoning. That's holding provision number 30H, which provides the same wording as the site-specific policy area. In this regard, the applicant has submitted a supporting OPA and ZBA application to delete specific policy area 24 and holding provision 30H to permit the lands to be developed with low-rise multiple residential development. The rationale to delete this provision is the same as the rationale to delete the subdivision draft approval conditions related to MDS. Under the PPS, MDS cannot legally be applied to the subject lands which are within an existing settlement area. Highlights and conclusions. The applications would facilitate the development of the final residential stage of the overall subdivision. Stage 4 is planned for multiple residential, open space, trail, and road widening purposes. The compatibility questions related to the nearby equestrian establishment that resulted in MDS requirements have been adequately addressed. MDS cannot be legally applied to settlement areas. Draft approval conditions have been added to notify prospective purchasers and renters of potential odors and to ensure that air conditioning is installed in each unit. Development and Housing Approval staff recommends the approval of the requested subdivision modification, OPA, and ZBA. The applications demonstrate good planning principles and are consistent with provincial, regional, and city planning policies. Thank you, and I'm here for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Pennell. Right on the buzzer. Good job. We have a delegation. I asked the committee just to hold questions of staff if you have any. Our first delegate is Pierre Chauvin from MHBC. Pierre, whenever you're ready, and as you know, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Singh, members of council and committee. My name is Pierre Chauvin with MHBC Planning, here on behalf of Activa Holdings in support of the application. I really don't have much more to say. Mr. Pennell did an excellent job summarizing the applications and here to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. There are no questions of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none, I'll look for a mover. Moved by Councillor O'Dooney. All those in favor? Opposed? That item carries. Thank you. Okay, 5.2, official plan amendment application, and this is for Springs subdivision. Mr. Bateman, I believe you are presenting first.
Good evening, Chair, committee members, and residents of Kitchener. My name is Brian Bateman. I'm a senior planner in the planning department, and I've been charged with taking this application through the application stage, and I'm very pleased to be bringing forward a staff report that's recommending approval of an OPA ZBA. Site and surrounding context. So the subject site's outlined in red, as you can see. It's legally described as Block 1, 58M711. It has frontage onto both Lackner Boulevard and Keewatin Avenue in the Grand River North neighborhood. It forms part of an existing residential plan of subdivision known as Sandra Springs that consists mainly of low-rise residential land use. As you can see, the block is presently vacant, and the lands to the north or to the east have been largely developed. It is presently vacant and is adjacent to other vacant blocks of land proposed for low-rise multiples and a vacant commercial block of land located right at the corner of Keewatin and Lackner. So this slide shows the subject Block 1 and Block 2. They're both highlighted. Block 1 of 58M711 is subject to this application, and Block 2, 58M711 is the commercial block. And this is taken as an excerpt of the approved plan of subdivision. Some of the councilors around the Horseshoe may recall this plan of subdivision back when I took it to committee in 2016. Block 1 was approved as a multiple block, zoned Res 6 at the time, which is a multiple residential block, and Block 2 was the commercial block, the neighborhood commercial block at that time. And then since that approval, we've implemented the 2019 bylaw, and it was Block 1 was subsequently changed to mixed use. The developer is simply requesting to reinstate the low-rise residential designation and zoning for that for Block 2. This is the proposed official plan amendment, and it shows the subject block of land going from mixed use to low-rise residential. Sorry. And the implementing zoning bylaw as well is going from Mix 1 to Res 5, and there is a holding provision being added to these lands, 116H, and that holding provision was requested by the region for completion of a noise study, and that noise study would have to be prepared and approved prior to the lifting of that holding provision. Opportunity is this will contribute towards the city's residential unit inventory, and it is consistent with provincial, regional, and policy direction. And then highlights and conclusions is staff is recommending approval of the official plan amendment application, and that's to change the land use designation from mixed use to low-rise residential, and that's just for Block 1, not Block 2. That will remain a commercial block. Recommending approval of the zoning bylaw amendment application to change the zoning category from Mix 1 to Res 5 with the holding provision, and that would allow for multiple dwellings. And that, in my opinion, the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application demonstrates good planning principles and are consistent with provincial, regional, and planning policies. Thank you very much. I'll be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you. We do have a delegation first. Brendan Fowling from GSP Group. Welcome, Brendan. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Brandon Flewelling. I'm a planner with GSP Group. I think Mr. Bateman did a good summary of the application. It's staff is recommending approval. It's very technical in nature and really re-implementing something that has been previously approved. So I think I'll just keep it short and sweet, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Just a few questions of you. Councillor Davey first.
Thank you, Mr. Welling. Just, I wasn't sure whether to ask you yourself or Mr. Bateman this question. The only question I have is, can you comment on the difference in the density between, the potential residential density, sorry, between the mixed use and the going back to the old zoning?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Bateman, if you want to jump in, please do. But the intended density, there is no change in the intended density for the block. The only difference would be in a mixed-use designation, there would be the need for the commercial component on the Block 1, whereas with the residential only, there's not a need for the commercial component. So you could say there's probably a better residential density when not having to include the commercial component on that specific block.
Are the absolute heights approximately the same between the two zonings? The heights of the structures?
Mr. Bateman, do you want to jump in, perhaps?
For mixed one zoning, or sorry, through the chair, the mixed one zoning allows for 4 stories in height, whereas the Res 5 is 3 stories.
Also, the mixed one requires commercial on the ground floor.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you could have 3 stories above residential.
Correct.
Perfect. So I guess in absolute terms, then it sounds like roughly the same amount of residential properties if you take out the commercial. Is that accurate to say?
Through you, Mr. I can respond.
And maybe
to that.
Mr. Bateman answer. Go ahead, Mr. Bateman.
Correct. Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Chair Singh, and thank you, Mr. Flewelling, for coming in. I'm just curious what the address of this is. Like, do we have an address that I could Google?
Good question. Go ahead.
I mean, it's an undeveloped block right now, so it's unaddressed at the present time. Once a site plan application comes in and gets approved, then the addressing is applied typically. But there isn't one right now.
Okay.
Thank you, that's all the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bateman, you had an early goal. I think you answered most of the questions too. Councillor Davey is moving the staff recommendation. With that, there are no questions or comments. All those in favor? Opposed? And that item carries also. We'll move on to item 5.3, which is 132 Fairway Road North, Maxwell Building Consultants. I believe, Mr. Pennell, you are up again. When you're ready. You're getting overtime today.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair. In May 2025, the city received applications from Maxwell Building Consultants and 11 Housing Corporation for an affordable housing project, which has qualified for the city's affordable housing fee incentive and affordable housing pilot grant program, eligible for $260,000 with $65,000 dispersed to date. The development contains 22 studio and 4 one-bedroom apartments that will all rent for less than 80% of the average market rent. The subject property is addressed as 132 Fairway Road and is located at the intersection of Jansen Avenue and Fairway Road North in the Centerville Chicopee planning community. The property has approximately 951 square meters of lot area. The property is developed with a single detached dwelling. It was built in the 1960s. The dwelling was vacant when it was purchased by the current owner in August 2024 and continues to be vacant. The surrounding area is comprised of a mix of residential land uses, including single detached and semi-detached dwellings, townhouses, and low-rise apartment buildings. Howard Robertson Public School is located on the opposite side of the road. The subject property is identified as community areas on Map 2 urban structure of the official plan. The planned function of these areas is to provide for residential uses as well as non-residential supporting uses intended to serve the immediate residential areas. The property is currently designated low-rise residential on Map 3 land use of the official plan. This designation accommodates a full range of low-density housing types. To facilitate the proposed development, the applicant is requesting an OPA to add a site-specific policy area to permit a multiple dwelling with a floor space ratio of 1.33, whereas the designation currently permits an FSR of 0.75. The land use designation would be retained. The subject property is currently zoned Res 4 in zoning bylaw 2019-051. To facilitate the proposed development concept, the applicant is also requesting a ZBA. The ZBA would change the zoning to Res 5. The ZBA would also add a site-specific provision. The requested ZBA would have the following effects. It would add multiple dwelling as a permitted use. It would regulate the minimum and maximum front yard setbacks. It would regulate the minimum exterior side yard setback, the minimum interior side yard setback, the floor space ratio. It would not require private patio areas on ground floor units. It would allow the number of parking spaces to be 5 and the number of visitor parking spaces to be 3. And it would allow a maximum of 2 compact parking spaces while prohibiting geothermal energy systems. I'd like to talk a little bit about the evolution of this project. At the outset, during the pre-submission stage in August 2024, the original development concept appeared as shown on the screen. The concept was for a 3-story multiple dwelling with 26 affordable units. The design included a flat facade facing Jansen Avenue, a side yard setback adjacent to the single detached dwelling to the east of 1.2 meters, no amenity space, no bicycle storage room, no laundry room, and outdoor surface parking in the rear yard. Staff worked with the applicant through the pre-submission stages as well as through the application review. And the final development concept shown on the screen represents the culmination of city staff's collaboration with the applicant in refining the design. This final development concept retains the 26 proposed affordable units, and it features a modern design with a flat roof that remains sympathetic to the neighborhood, articulated building facades facing both Jansen Ave and Fairway Road, including an improved building entrance, a side yard setback of 2.4 meters abutting the property to the east, which doubles the original proposal, an east elevation that minimizes overlook onto the neighboring rear yard through strategic window placement, a terrace amenity space on the 3rd floor, a dedicated bicycle room for 28 bicycles, a laundry room, and half of the 8 parking spaces are located beneath a cantilever portion of the building, making the most of the smaller lot area. Here are some renderings of the final development concept. Staff suggests that the proposed development represents an opportunity. The proposal will facilitate redevelopment of the lands with missing middle housing in a low-rise built form, add 26 new rental affordable housing units, create housing on a property that is well connected to transit and alternative transportation facilities, provide visual interest in an attractive building design, efficiently use land, infrastructure, and services. Staff recommends approval of the OPA and ZBA applications. Staff further recommends that the urban design brief be endorsed and that it provide guidance for the future or the current site plan process. We just received that recently. Staff responded to questions and comments of the community at the virtual meeting on June 18th. We also responded through one-on-one emails, phone conversations, and through the staff report. The requested OPA and ZBA demonstrate good planning principles and are consistent with provincial, regional, and city planning policies. Thank you, and I'm here for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Pennell. We'll go on to our delegations first. To the committee, please take note that we did have written submissions from Peter Peteskia and Natalia Bellinger. So I think those were emailed. As well as our delegations are first Jenna Wenzel. I believe, Jenna, you are presenting with Mr. Maxwell, who is in attendance in case there are additional questions. Jenna, whenever you're ready, you have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenna Wenzel, and I'm a planner with GSP Group. Tonight, I'm representing the landowner, Maxwell Building Consultants, for the applications presented this evening. I'm also joined by Mike Maxwell, who is part of Maxwell Building Consultants. I'd like to begin by thanking Andrew for his presentation, as well as Katie, Andrew, and Andrew for their ongoing work and support with this application. I also appreciate the committee members and the members of public taking the time to join us this evening. Having reviewed the staff report, I am fully in support of its recommendation. Since Andrew has already provided a detailed overview of the proposal, I'll focus my time mainly on introducing the owners of this development and how it will assist the city and region with affordable housing. To start off, I'll provide a quick overview of the key features of the proposed development. As you're aware, 26 new affordable housing units, 3 stories, which will be within the maximum residential 5 height of the zoning bylaw amendment, 6 external parking spaces for bicycles, and 28 secure internal bike spaces. There will also be a common outdoor amenity area on the 3rd floor. It is also within close proximity to 5 Grand River transit routes and within a 20-minute walk to the LRT Fairway Station. Maxwell Building Consultants is the owner of the property, and many of you may already recognize them as a leading name in the affordable housing industry here in the region of Waterloo. Their commitment to affordable housing has driven the success of multiple projects across our community, including 184 Herb Street East in Waterloo, which has 28 units, 18 Guelph Street in Kitchener at 13 units, and 55 Franklin Street South in Kitchener with 180 units. Once the required approvals are in place, 11 Housing Corporation will take ownership of the property. 11 Housing Corporation is a not-for-profit housing development company, which is focused on using the funding tools available to address the housing affordability crisis in the region of Waterloo. Their mission is to alleviate housing poverty through a sustainable and scalable model for the development and operation of more affordable housing in Canada. As many of you are aware, affordable housing is more critical now than ever. The region of Waterloo has taken a strong step forward by committing to creating or preserving 3,500 affordable homes by 2029, with 60% of these dedicated to very low and low-income households. Our project directly supports this goal by offering below-market rents, making housing more affordable for those who need it most. This chart illustrates the difference between current market rents for studio and one-bedroom units and the proposed rents for this development. The savings are significant: $613 less for studios and $748 less for one-bedrooms compared to the market rates. The proposed rents are also deemed affordable by the Government of Ontario. In closing, we appreciate the opportunity to share our affordable housing project with you today. Thank you for your time, engagement, and thoughtful consideration. We're happy to address any questions you may have now or welcome further discussion afterwards. Thank you.
Yes, there's a number of questions. Councillor Deneau first.
Thank you, Chair Singh, and thank you, Ms. Wenzel. You answered actually a few of my questions ahead of time, so that's good. My only concern is the actual size of the units. 240 square feet to 362 square feet. In the building on 18 Guelph Street, do you have an idea of what the square footage on those units are?
Through the chair, I'm just going to call up Mike Maxwell to answer. Thank you.
Maxwell, if you just want to stand ready, there may be a lot of other questions for you as well, so.
I'll stay standing then, Chair, yes. The one bedrooms there are not our micro units. They're a typical one bedroom, not a studio. They're around 440 square feet for 18 Guelph.
Okay. And so when you came up, obviously, based on the size and the location of the lot size and how many units you wanted to put in, that's how you came up with the 240 to 362?
No, we actually did it the other way around. So we've been experimenting on a number of fronts on the affordable housing space for better part of 10 years now in Waterloo region. This is a relatively new concept that's being developed in some bigger urban centers, but basically micro units. It's used with flex furniture, I don't want to say Murphy bed, but kind of that idea. This is the next generation of the idea of Murphy bed, where it folds down and then you fold it up for a couch. This is well beyond that. This is movable furniture pieces that allow for reclaiming of circulation space, to put it in two ways. That's a long way of saying you make an efficient space out of smaller space, but still usable. This is being in places done like Chicago, Toronto, New York, with great success. And because the target for this project and for 11 Housing Corp is quantity of housing, the number of units is the number priority. So in this case, the same building size, instead of building conventional apartment one bedrooms where we maybe can put in 15, we can help 26 households. One thing we've learned over our years doing affordable housing is sometimes it's just about absolute price. People have a certain amount of money in different circumstances that they can put towards housing. $800 is great. Some people can afford $1,000, some can afford $1,500, but sometimes all they have is $800.
No, and I 100% I appreciate the affordable rents, because we all know that's a huge issue. So will this unit have, or will the units have access to laundry facilities?
Absolutely. So there's a common laundry room in the building on the second floor, so that's accessible to the entire building. The exact number of washers or dryers has not been set yet, but for building size, I would expect it to be around 3 and 3, 3 washers, 3 dryers.
Okay. I'm just trying to get my head around what 240 square feet looks like.
So the best, and we'd be happy to do a tour once we get the first one built, because I think it'll be impressive all the way around. This is the first one being done in Waterloo region, to my understanding. Toronto, New York, they, like I say, they already have them, a little bit further drive. But it's a large hotel room, to be perfectly blunt. I mean, but it's got a full kitchen. It has a stove. It has a full-size fridge. It has like an apartment-sized fridge. It has a microwave range hood. It's got a full bathroom. In some cases, actually, we have full barrier-free units in here as well. So with the turning radiuses, 20% of this building is also barrier-free. The entire building is accessible because there's an elevator in it. So from that point of view, we still have the requirements of the building code and from a livability, but it's just in a smaller space. It's all about recapturing circulation space, like around the bed, in front of the couch, in the closet, that type of thing, by moving it around.
Okay. Air conditioning?
I'm sorry?
Will there be air conditioning in the building? Like
Air conditioning?
Yeah.
Yes, we put air conditioning in all
Yeah,
of our
sorry. I'm not a builder.
I just wasn't sure about the question.
No.
Yes, we've put air conditioning in all of our buildings, yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Schneider?
Thank you, Chair Singh. Thank you so much for coming in. As you said, this is going to be probably one of the first of its kind in our region.
To the best of my knowledge, yes. The group that makes the movable furniture pieces has never done a project in southwestern Ontario.
Okay. So in the research that you've done, who would rent these kind of units? Is there any idea of that? There's probably a big variety, but...
How long do I have, Chair? No. So with the target price, we have a little over $800 for the studios. To put things in perspective, by using the very common rule of thumb of 30% of your gross income, this is affordable for someone working full-time minimum wage. This is affordable with no other rent supplements from the region, the province, the feds. This is for working minimum wage full-time. And then beyond there, we're seeing with some of the partner agencies we work with, New Canadians who have some rent supplements, whether it's refugees or New Canadians from all sorts of different reasons. They have rent supplements that can afford this type of rent. We're seeing all sorts of other people who are being losing their housing for all sorts of different ways. And we also see this as a potential safety net to go from wherever your housing situation may have been before homelessness. This is a safety net that might catch some people before homelessness as well. Just by price point we're talking about here, where if you lose maybe you have a marital split or whatever, and you lose your apartment or your housing, well, one person can afford this when they're working. While they sort other things out in their lives. So there's a lot of different people who it's all about absolute price points. That $800, $900 is what they need to help them.
Okay, and you commented earlier, with the research that you've done, is this more of a transitional study? Like we talk about our housing continuum, so you might start here and then transition up, or maybe you want to transition down.
No, probably not, only because there's connotations around the transitional housing. That's not what we're envisioning. This is just, in general, we're of the opinion, our company's of the opinion, we need more housing at all price points across the entire spectrum. We need more everywhere. So we need more at this price point. We need more one-bedrooms at affordable price points. We need more three-bedrooms at affordable price points. So this is a contribution and an experiment at this particular price point. We're not presuming specifically who's going to be moving in at any given time. We're just hearing through our other assets and people moving in that sometimes $1,200 is too much. Do you have a studio? Do you have anything in the $1,000 or $800 range? So we need more of those. We're just hearing that from our property management people who are renting out apartments that we have now that are even deemed affordable, and it's still too much on the higher end. We haven't built studios. Actually, I don't think we've ever built studios in a rental project. So this is going to be, we have some in the pipeline, but this is going to be some of our first.
Okay. This might be a difficult question to answer. It was a comment I received, and I don't know if you have anything from your experience and the research you did in Toronto, but the comment was that because these units are so small, people won't want to spend much time in them, and they'll be spending more time in the parking lot and congregating on the sidewalk. That was, again, I'm just passing this comment along.
Again, I can't presume to say what people are going to do, but we know that the studios that have been built have all of the amenities and interior features of a one-bedroom apartment or a typical studio apartment. It's in a smaller space. So I would have to disagree with that, in that if you are willing to stay in a one-bedroom with a TV and your closet and your clothes and a full kitchen where you can do your own cooking and save money from buying food, you'll be able to do the exact same stuff here.
Okay, thank you so much.
Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Chair Singh, and thanks very much for your presentation. I actually had a question along the lines of what Councillor Schneider asked as well. So I was wondering, you said that there's a laundry room, a communal laundry room there. Is there some kind of a community space as well?
We, at the encouragement of staff, we added a rooftop space, specifically third floor, but not on the roof, but we carved out some of the space on the third floor for an outdoor amenity space. We expect there to be an arbor and some shade structures, particularly appropriate today.
Barbecue or something? Or?
But no other interior amenity space. The reality is to keep rents low. I mean, with all the other things that cost extra money that would just get amortized over additional rents, we're minimizing that. We're prioritizing the housing in this particular case.
Okay. I was wondering too, just looking at the plan. So there's bicycle parking there, and there's an indoor room, I think, for bicycles, correct? But there's no parking or anything there. Is that correct? Sorry, did I look at it incorrectly?
Vehicular parking?
Yes.
No, there's 9 or 8, 9?
Oh.
Through the chair. Yes, we do have 8 parking spaces are being proposed. 3 are visitor. We have asked for reductions for 2 compact spaces. And then we also have, I think it's 2 or 3 EV-ready spaces as well. So there is vehicular parking as well.
Okay, that's good. I was wondering too then, because Fairway Road is a very busy road, as we know, and I'm very thankful to hear that, because whenever I looked at the drawing, I did not. That's my fault then. But I was wondering, even of like a little spot to drop people off. I can imagine that perhaps there will be a number of people without cars, but maybe seniors, et cetera, who might live there, who might need a spot to be picked up or dropped off. Is there an opportunity for something like that? Maybe we should ask our staff that question.
So through you, Chair, we did not explore on the municipal road. Rewriting infrastructure is obviously expensive, so we would never presume to do that on public right-of-way, whether it's Fairway or on the adjacent street, Jensen. Our experience with our assets is, whether it's Uber Eats or cabs, they park in the driveway. They don't take the time to actually pull into a parking spot to drop someone or something off. So they just pull in the driveway at the back and drop people off, or would pause on the road at the curb where there's on-street parking. But they're not usually generally taking the time to pull into a parking spot if they're simply doing a pickup or a drop-off. I'm sure everyone's been frustrated by that once in a while uptown or downtown, but that's just the nature of that. So we did not create a lay-by for that type of delivery or pickup thing.
Is that something that you might think of? Because I can't see that people will be doing that on Fairway Road. That's not really designed to do that.
I would agree with you, and the principal entrance to the building does not face Fairway, it faces Jensen. So I think if someone's going to stop for a pickup or drop-off, they're going to stop in front of the door on Jensen,
Okay.
not on Fairway.
All right. Thank you.
Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you. Is it on? Yeah. And thank you for this report. I have concerns about the affordable nature of the housing. As you point out, the studio units are about 30% of a minimum, full-time minimum wage, which is, I think it's a $35 difference, according to my calculations, for a full-time minimum wage earner. 30% of their income would be $825.60 rent. And you're proposing to charge $860 a month for a studio unit, that's fine. But what about that one bedroom, which is quite substantially above the 30% of a full-time minimum wage earner's income? So they wouldn't, of course, be able to afford the one bedroom, even say a single mom with a kid or two kids that would need that one bedroom. So really the only component of what you're proposing as far as affordable within that 30% range is for the studio apartments?
That's correct. So obviously, two-income earners would easily be able to meet the criteria for the one bedroom. In your situation, though, you're right. And we should be clear, we are rarely suggesting that the projects we do in Waterloo Region are everything to everybody. We feel that 26 units, 22 of which can solve people, or address their housing situation, possibly working minimum wage. There needs to be more done. I would fully agree with you, and more needs to be done at every price point and every housing type. We can make the same discussion points about 2-bedrooms and 3-bedroom units, larger family-size units, all across the board. We need to be doing more as a community. I agree.
Right. The other question I had is regarding, and the slides have come down now, but regarding the market value rents. It said in the footnote that it was the Government of Ontario, I take it average market value for those sizes of units. Do you have the same data for the region of Waterloo? Because I'm sure it's not the same living in Toronto as it would be living here, right? And what those average...
I keep forgetting, excuse me, through your chair, sorry, for protocol. So those are the Province of Ontario numbers, which are broken down by municipality. So those are the region of Waterloo's numbers as published by the Province of Ontario. Similarly, CMHC on behalf of the federal government publishes numbers for Waterloo Region, Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge individually, and also by ward, by their ward, not our political ward. So those are the Kitchener numbers as published by Ontario and CMHC.
Okay, thank you. The other question I had was storage space, right? You talk about people downsizing or maybe being renovicted. I don't know if you use that word, but somebody gets renovicted and they've got to find a quick fix living arrangement so they could go into a studio apartment. Well, usually these people have, possessions beyond a closet. So what would that, how would that, do you have storage space, I guess is my question, beyond a closet?
And again, through you, Chair, so actually the bulk of these units are going to be substantially furnished as well. I neglected to mention that because of the nature of the furniture, it's included as well. So you bring up a good point. What would someone do with their furniture in the event of downsizing or whatever their situation is? As a landlord, we don't really get into that.
No, I was thinking not necessarily furniture, but just possessions, right? You have dishes, you have, when you rent a place, you accumulate stuff. We all do, right?
There are many people renting who housing is their number one priority right now, obviously. Unfortunately, that's the truth. Possessions, yes, in the downsizing circumstance, 100%. There would have to be possessions that they might have to deal with. But again, we're working on we need more housing is where we're coming from it. Larger units would be better, but larger units might be 50% more or 100% more in rent. And then that's not doing what it is we're trying to do here, which is create a large number of housing units across the region through affordable housing programs.
Okay, one last question. What is your connection to the 11 Housing Corporation? Because I noticed Sean Campbell is part of that, and just wondered if you have a direct connection to it. You can talk.
Can I?
Yeah, if you feel comfortable, yeah.
I will try to keep it brief. This is, my family's enterprise, Maxwell Building Consultants, has been doing affordable housing since about 2017 in Waterloo Region. It became also very clear to us about 3 years ago that there's funding streams available for not-for-profits that can actually achieve lower rents than we can do on our own as a private company. So we, along with Sean Campbell and a couple of other people, wow, that was a fast 5 minutes. Started a not-for-profit to work with the feds, the province, and municipalities on a not-for-profit basis. In the current situation, how we tend to do this scenario is because the not-for-profit is new. Maxwell Building Consultants, our family's company, will basically front-end the entire project until the not-for-profit is ready to take over and the project is de-risked. When I say de-risked, I mean they're ready to get a building permit and their CMHC financing is in place. Because we can take those risks as a private company that a not-for-profit really can't take those risks. So we take those risks on our behalf. When we're ready to go to permit, that's when the not-for-profit takes over.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Stretch.
Thank you. So when you're at the point, after seeking all of the approvals and you're ready to start renting out, does your not-for-profit then manage that?
Through you, Chair. We actually have a different company that does it. It's not our company, but it's a third-party property management company that manages the day-to-day of the buildings.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And I have comments whenever.
Thank you. Councillor Denoy, you've rung back in, but I have a couple questions and I'll come back to you. Yeah. Mr. Maxwell, I do agree that we do need a cross-section of housing options of different sizes, and just to get understanding context, really you're achieving the lower rents through smaller unit size, where on Guelph Street you have a one-bedroom at 450 square feet average. What do they rent for, typically?
So through you, Chair. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but that program, there's a lot of different programs that can go to support the development of affordable housing. And that means sometimes there's mixed income buildings, mixed rent buildings. So that particular project has 10 one-bedrooms. And I'm going to give you approximate numbers because I don't have the exact ones but today, a one-bedroom there would rent from anywhere from about $550, which is the housing allowance if you're on OD or OW, up to approximately $1,400 or so. So because there's a mix of affordable price points in a mixed income, a mixed building. But approximately those are the numbers, $550 to $1,450 for a one-bedroom.
But when you say housing allowance, you're not renting it for $550 to $550, and then there's a housing allowance that comes in play as well.
If you're on disability or welfare benefits, yes.
Right. So, but the average is around that $1,400, and then
40% of the one-bedrooms there are at $550. So
with the housing allowance.
No, that's the rent.
That's the rent.
The rent is $550.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
So are you going to be looking to maximize on that here as well, if the opportunities allow?
So how rents are able to achieve that low level on a regular basis, our only experience has been it's been able to do through capital subsidies through the region's programs that come out periodically. About every year or so, there's an RFP out from the region that distributes either regional money or provincial money, which buys down the capital cost, and you can then reduce your debt, therefore you can charge lower rents. This project is not, there's no RFP out, and we're not aware of anyone in the immediate future. So this is what we can achieve using existing known CMHC programs as of right now.
Okay.
If we can improve it, we will.
Okay. So you would be going through CMHC funding on this one then?
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. I think one of the things that for committee members to kind of wrap their minds around is the size of the units. As you've said it, this is quite new in the communities. It's difficult to assess how a person or a couple could be living in a one-bedroom that's around 200 plus square feet. Leading up to ratification of this application, provided that's supported through the committee, do you have any internal floor plans that kind of give that perspective of how the internal unit would look like?
They're in development right now. When we originally laid out the units, we worked with the furniture manufacturer because they have some templates on their website. And we're incorporating those into the working drawings right now. So I don't have any today with me. We can see if I can get them and sent over as a follow-up through staff. But I don't have any now that I could bring up, no.
Okay, I think if you are able to, I'm not putting any prerequisite, I think it would be helpful. I think it allows us to see a blueprint of what's workable. And as you said, to achieve the number of affordable housing units that we need in the community, it can't be done through larger units in all. And if some of them have to be smaller units, it's better for us to start getting an understanding how functional those small units can be. Perfect. Councilor Deneau.
Thank you, Chair Singh. I'll just point out that I've quickly viewed a few videos online of 250, 275 square feet apartments as to what you folks are intending to build. And much to my surprise, are actually quite, it's not going to have a big bash in there, but there's enough to live, particularly if there's a washroom. I didn't think it was possible to have a washroom in that small space. So what is the average one-bedroom rent in Kitchener now? Do you have an idea?
I have specific ideas. Actually, more specifically through you, Chair, the province of Ontario and CMHC have specific ideas. So as a proxy for market rent, which is published on a regular basis through third parties like Realtor and MLS, CMHC releases data once a year as a comprehensive survey that they do of across Canada in October. So using as a proxy of what market rent is, they use what's called the vacant rent number, so on turnover. So the median, sorry, I'm a math person, so I want to make sure I'm using average and not, or median, not average. The market studio, average market studio rent for Kitchener is $1,609. The average one bedroom for Kitchener at large is $1,752.
Okay. And I think I read some of the comments mentioning that these wouldn't be necessarily for families. Is that correct? You're looking for probably singles, young people still maybe working at home. But if not, I guess my next question would be, how is 11 Housing Corporation going to vet who can move into these homes or these apartments?
Through you, Chair. So 11 has a number of projects in the pipeline. We're not sure which one is being completed first, but I'll share with you how our company does basically allocates a very scarce resource as being affordable housing, whether it's $500 a month apartments or $900. We traditionally work with agencies to make sure that they end up in the hands of the people who most need them. I think we're not interested in renting, if someone were so inclined, a $100,000 income, giving them a $500 a month apartment. So we tend to work with agencies. We work with probably around 8 or 9 different agencies right now for referrals, along with the region for their affordable housing wait list. And we use a reverse income test, which is you can't make more than X in order to qualify for a certain apartment. That's what we use pretty much straight across the board. For the specific, what are referred to as BAMR units or below average market rent units, the $550 ones, they exclusively go to the region because the region is they have the wait list for people who are on OD or OW and waiting for affordable housing. So we go to them, they give us a referral, and then we go through the usual process.
Okay, thank you.
That was long. Okay, that's it. You're off the hook.
I haven't even heard the bing very often.
No, we're done. Thanks so much. It's everyone. Okay, so we'll go on to our other delegations. Next up, we have Natalie Bellinger. Or Bellinger, sorry. Hi, Natalie, go ahead.
My name is Natalie Bélanger, and I am a former resident for 24 years of 136 Fairway Road, which is the neighboring property to this proposed project. I come before you today on behalf of my mother, who is here, who is currently still residing in the proposed, next to the proposed project, whom I have legal power of attorney for, and also for the 40 individuals in the neighboring homes who are appealing this proposed project. These individuals of various types of family dwellings and ethnicity, age, and financial incomes. Some of them are multi-generational residents, and some have resided for a short time only. But the underlying concerns on this project are the same. So overall financial impact on property values was the number one that we heard from neighbors. Drastic change in the visual landscape of the neighborhood. My mother is right beside the project. My bedroom is equating to that 3-level where I used to live. And I can tell you from experience, it is very invasive to privacy already with the way the house is set up. So with the proposed level, the 3-level with the communal space, that would be on looking right into a bedroom. There's also the increase in already heavy traffic. That's a concern that they have. So that would impact the noise level and the ease of property management. Currently, my mother has to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to shovel her snow on Fairway Road because it is too busy during the day or even in the evening for her to be able to shovel her snow. The increase in parking, that will create an issue that is already in existence, further of an issue for street and public parking on, as we've heard, Fairway. I couldn't even get into my mother's property without being in possible collision, let alone stopping to let my mother out of the vehicle. That would not be something that would happen on Fairway, let alone Jansen, which is where the proposed entrance of this project would be. There's the increase in construction within the area that would lead to the possible noise, waste, traffic issues that are a concern to those neighbors. Well, we can all agree that the low-income housing is necessary for individuals within the community. We believe that this project goes against the current needs of those living in the area and are better suited for development in an area that is less family-oriented. Currently, there is a school across the street, Howard Robertson, as was mentioned, and there are 2 other schools that are being built close by. What this area needs is a project to support young families and multi-generational living as opposed to short-term rentals that are geared towards individuals, that this is what that project proposes. For example, let the changes being made at the community center be an example to what is needed for the area. The current construction and programming that they offer at the community center promotes making services more accessible for families, youth, and seniors, and those with disabilities, with a strong focus on the well-being and mental health of those in the community. We should be looking at this project and thinking about how such a small, confined area would support the mental health and overall well-being of those in need of the housing. Currently, this area is a designated low-rise residential in the City of Kitchener official plan and is zoned as Res 4, as was previously discussed in the City of Kitchener's zoning bylaw. But by allowing a zoning change for this project, you would allow for drastic changes within the area that is not conducive to the current residents, nor of the currently approved projects put through by the Centerville Chicopee Planning Community. We ask that you take these concerns outlined from the current residents and make planning choices not just for future residents, but that the current as well.
Very much. We have a question of you from Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Chair Singh. I just want to ask about your comment about a project like this should go in an area that's less family-oriented. So how does having individuals move into that building, how does that affect your neighborhood?
So as I had mentioned, the programming in the community center is a perfect example. They don't target their programming and the construction that is going on in the community around new individuals to the community. This is for existing seniors. So back to the commentary of downsizing families, that is my mother currently. She is by herself in a duplex, and she has stuff. Where is she going to go with that stuff. If she would be going into such a housing facility, I couldn't imagine that. It's just not appropriate for a senior. So that takes off that individual that might be there. The newcomers to Canada, that is a perfect example. Are they newcomers that are individuals? So a lot of the individuals that we've seen come into the neighborhood have been in temporary living situations. They are students at Conestoga or one of the universities. They want to be closer to the ION. That's not where this project is. So what I would expect is in a more highly commercial populated area, such as near Fairview Park Mall, those are the kind of buildings that I could see providing the support to those individuals who are in need.
Okay, I'm trying to understand like how you came up with that reasoning, because we've heard that there is a real need for this type of housing. And I also want to ask, with the Centerville Chicopee Community Association, I go to their board meetings and they don't just target families.
Yep.
So
But the
I'm
changes that are-
trying to understand, where you came up with your thoughts.
Sorry, if we look at the other apartments in the area and other buildings within the area, most of them have more than one bedroom, from experience, have living in the neighborhood. So I find it very difficult to speak to that because I have never seen it within the neighborhood. So this would be a first from what I can tell. And I don't see that the change makes sense to the current neighborhood. And the changes that are being done with construction, like there's schools being made. Those are not for individuals, those are for families. There are places for those individuals that need a housing, but this is not that community.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have Anne Bellinger. Welcome in. You have 5 minutes.
So, your question, what does a 240 square foot area look like? It looks like a hotel room. And this is what we're proposing to put people in, a square box that is bedroom, living room, dining room, with a small washroom facility. Having lived in the neighborhood for as long as I have, I've seen a lot of different types of people come into the city. And just as an example, during COVID, what did we do? We opened up our hotels to house these people. Those people were not remaining in a 240 square foot area. They were in there to sleep, but the rest of the time they were hanging out in the driveway, in the parking lot. So this is exactly what is going to happen here. And the building that they've got going is so close to my property. So as my daughter mentioned, these windows are overlooking my living space, my bedroom, my living room. Why would I want 26 people looking in my space? Would you people like it? There's going to be no privacy. There's a noise issue. There's a parking issue. And there is a liability here with having these people hanging around property that doesn't belong to them. So over the last 12 months, which it's going to be, Mr. Maxwell hasn't actually seen what's been going on here. And I have invited Mr. Schneider to come and take a walk with me along the neighborhood. I'm still waiting. So my neighbors here, we have been here a long time. We've put our hard-earned dollars into these properties. New roofs, new driveways, new fences, new everything. And now all of a sudden, our properties have gone like this. And I know you mentioned that that is not the case, Mr. Schneider, when I spoke to you, and you provided me with statistics. I'd like to know where you got those statistics, because I am currently experiencing what's going to happen if this takes place. And have they actually taken any consideration into the people that live in this area? There's a people that have been here for 45 years. Has any consideration been given to that? Has any consideration been given to the privacy of me? Questions? No questions?
Relating to the committee, so there will be questions of you afterwards. Are you done presenting?
I beg your pardon?
Are you done presenting? Are you done with the delegation? Okay. There are questions, yes, but the questions will be only asked by the committee members, not by the delegations or people in the gallery. Oh, no, and there's someone that's going to ask a question of you. Councillor Deneau, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, and thank you, Ms. Belanger, for coming in and expressing your opinion and your frustrations with this process. Something you said really, I'm going to be honest with you, didn't sit right when you're referring to these people or those people. Who are you referring to by these or those people?
The Maxwell team.
No, you mentioned the individuals who will possibly be living in these units. So is that one of your, obviously you have a number of concerns, but is that one of your concerns that those individuals who are going to be living in this unit may not be the most desirable neighbors?
The type of people, so you have mentioned that this is going to be a furnished facility?
Again, and
So it's...
they will not be able to answer to you. If you can just answer the question that Councillor Deneau is answering.
So if it's a furnished unit, the type of people that move into a furnished apartment are usually not people that stay. I have been a landlord for many, many years, so I have seen different avenues here. And for someone, for a 240 square foot room, they are not going to be staying.
So my question then, would a 240 square foot room be better than possibly living on a street or living on a hut at Better Tent City? Because that's what we're forced to what we're dealing with right now. There are some people who do not want to be housed, and that's fine. But there are people who do want to be housed, who don't want to live at a Better Tent City or up in Waterloo. And so, in your opinion, is it better to have a 240 square foot apartment with a kitchen, with a bathroom, than living in a tent or living on the street or living in a hut?
But are those the kind of people, because the people that are out on the street don't necessarily want to move into something like this?
Not everybody does, you're right, but there are individuals who do.
Councillor Deneau, if you don't mind, I think Councillor Deneau is just asking, just to summarize, I don't want it to be contentious, that there needs to be all types of housing, large and small. Is your issue with smaller housing? Is that really your concern? Because there's individuals in the community that cannot afford larger apartment sizes. And if this is all they can afford, do you have an issue with that? I think that's what he was really summarizing towards.
Well, then, I guess that's their choice. But I'm just saying that I have been a landlord, and I know what happens. The turnkey is a year when the lease is up. They can't mentally, they just can't stay in a 240 square foot location. And so what is going to happen? They will be hanging out in the driveway that's right there. There isn't even, looking at the driveway now, I had 6 people that live there. Now we're going to 26 and maybe more if it's a couple. That's a lot of people in that small area there. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
It's too small of a space for that many units.
And again, I appreciate your concern and your frustration.
Okay, there's one more question. Councillor Schneider. And there's more. Councillor Schneider, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Singh, and thank you for coming in. I did want to answer your question about the real estate listing numbers, and that was right on the document that I sent you. That was from the KW Real Estate Board. Those are MLS listing averages for that area. And then I followed that up with a phone call, and I listed off, so I did my own research, listing houses for sale in that area, and so I sent those to you. I left you that message. And you said to me, you had proof that as soon as the sign for the development went up, that the value of your home went down. So could you tell us that?
Yeah, because I currently have my property for sale.
Okay.
And it's not the numbers that you gave me. So that's where, when I came back to you and said, so where did you get these numbers from? There's a difference between a listing and a selling.
What I sent you was sale prices, and those are averages from the area.
But not in this area. Not in this area. Are you looking at a general Kitchener-Waterloo area?
No, it was Centerville.
But if you can interject, we really want to focus on the planning application.
I'd like to see those.
That's what it's from. It's from the Centerville Chicopee area.
Well,
It was right on that document that I sent you.
That's not where they are. Sorry. So I don't know which realtor gave you those, but they're not correct.
Well, it's from the KW Real Estate Board, MLS systems.
Councillor Schneider, I think you've asked the question, she's answered back. There may be, I think, differences that may not be resolved just right now. Do you have any other questions? You're good. Thank you very much. That's everyone. All right, next delegate is Juliana Cassidy. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to make your presentation to the committee.
Okay. Yep. Well, my name is Juliana Cassidy, as mentioned, and I live on 180 Johnson Avenue. The proposed property backed on to the semi. I live in the semi. I'm in 180, and then 182 is right adjacent to, on the back of the proposed property. I know there is a lot of mention already about some of the concerns that I have. I've been living on Johnson. September will be 31 years since I've been there. I've raised my kids there. My kids went all around the neighborhood there and delivered a penny saver, if anyone can remember the penny saver back then. I am comfortable there. I have a disability. I have put a lot of money into my property. Most recently, I just put 20,000 plus doing my driveways and making it so that someday I am told that I'm possibly will be in a wheelchair. I don't want to move from my area. I feel, yes, number one, the traffic. The traffic in Fairway Road is already so congested from the time I moved there. When I moved from Toronto, and when I moved there, the people were saying, oh, the traffic is so busy. And I was laughing because coming from Toronto, it was the 2 or 3 cars. Now, it takes me to get into my property, to get onto Johnson from Fairway Road. Sometimes it takes me 5-10 minutes, depending on the time of the day, for me to get in. I've seen the increase in the traffic on Johnson Street. When I was doing my driveway, my driveway was just done a month ago. We couldn't find a spot on the street to park. And we're talking now about a 26 or whatever unit with 8 parking space. Now tell me, how is that going to improve traffic in my area? That is just going to make it worse than it is right now. What my neighbor was probably trying to say when she speak about those people, it is my belief, I am not calling them those people, but it's my belief, I've rented apartments in Toronto already. I believe when people are renting as to when they are homeowners, the value of the property is not the same because it's not their investment. They do not take care of the property as they will do if it was their building. I am seeing increase in traffic. I am seeing increase in noise. I am seeing increase in garbage. And I am seeing a great depreciation for my home. Because let's face it, no one wants to move into an area where they feel that there's already so much low-income houses in that area. We already have, and the back of me, there is Fairway Place. Those are low-income housing. On across the street for Howard Robinson School, there are low-income houses there. Go one street up on Thaler, there's low-income houses there. I am feeling like I am claustrophobic, like I'm going to be boxed in. I don't want to have that feeling. I don't want increased violence in my neighborhood. None of us do. But I'm all for affordable housing. But I feel that there is too much in one area. Again, there is right across the street from me, in the vacant lot, they are going to put another 56 houses, low-income houses, in that area as well. It is too much in the one area. That is my concern, and I do not oppose of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cassidy. There's no questions of you. Thank you to everyone. All right, there are no other delegations, so we will move on to questions of staff. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Chair Singh. So through this process and where we have it now for you to bring a recommendation, does that mean that everything in the Planning Act has, that you are regulated to meet have been met?
Sorry.
Through this zoning bylaw amendment process, we're satisfied that for the things that need to be looked at for zoning bylaw amendments and official plan amendments, that we've covered all of the bases. There's still a Planning Act application to come for this one, and that's a site plan application. We just received that. We'll be looking at that in more detail. We tried to vet the site plan even before we get it, and we haven't flagged any issues, but that is another process that this will be going through, so.
Okay, and should council choose to turn down this application, what then happens or could happen?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if this doesn't proceed, a multiple dwelling would not be permitted on the site. That's the main purpose of this official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, is to allow multiple dwelling. And the applicant would have to modify their proposal significantly, or appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal.
Okay, and just for the purposes of our delegations who are here, could you maybe give a brief 101 Coles notes of what would happen or could happen at the Ontario Land Tribunal?
My experience has been, we can't say every case is a case de novo, but our experience has been more often than not that if we oppose housing, there's oftentimes a loss at the Ontario Land Tribunal. The tribunal has the power to approve it. They have the power to refuse it, but I would be concerned that there would be a refusal. Sorry, I apologize. If there was an appeal, there would be an approval of the application by the Ontario Land Tribunal.
Okay.
Mr. Stevenson, go ahead.
Thank you. In addition to Mr. Pinnell's comments, so council be aware, we've shared before, the Hamilton Spectator did an analysis and looked at OLT decisions recently and determined that 97% of those cases ruled in favor of the developer to provide more housing. We know that we are in need of housing. I think we heard it from the applicant, and we know that we need housing of all kinds along the housing continuum. I think council would have to consider very carefully what the implications could be. There also are financial responsibilities for attending an appeal, especially if you're found or if a party is found to be awarded costs. So there could be a financial implications to council on that as well.
Is that everything? Excellent. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a question about the current use of the building. Is it rented? Is it occupied? Who lives in it?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the current building is not occupied. It hasn't been occupied since at least prior to August of 2024, which was the time that the current owner purchased the property.
So Maxwell purchased it and then let it sit empty. Is that what you're saying?
That's my understanding. Yes, that's what I've been advised.
Which is their prerogative. I mean, that we can't make comment on their choice to.
I can mention it. I can say that. Thank you.
I mean, I have a question. Your lining of questioning as to the current, you asked the question of the occupancy. The question was answered. Then you interjected with additional opinion. This is not a time for opinions. This is a time of questions. That's what I was specifying. If you would like to make a comment afterwards, you can add that to your opinion, which I wouldn't have an issue with. Thank you. Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Chair Singh. So we heard from one of the community members that they're concerned about privacy and about the location of the amenity space. And so I'm trying to get an idea, and I'm not very good when I look at these maps and these designs and stuff like that. Where is that amenity space? What is it facing?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if we can pull up my presentation.
Just before.
So you can see on the rendering on the screen. Oh, we can go back to that. There we go. On the third floor, there's a cutout of the building, and that cutout is the terrace on the third floor.
And that's facing Jansen.
That's facing Jansen, yes.
Okay. That answers that question. And there were concerns about the windows looking down into the adjacent houses. Is there anything we can do to mitigate that risk of potential invasion of privacy?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. If we could put up the presentation one more time. Picture says 1,000 words. I believe. Just want to see here.
Do you have the site elevations?
Yes, I do. Yep, here's on the reference slide. So the east elevation is at the bottom left-hand corner. So you can see that the center of the building has a number of windows. We explored this question extensively with the applicant to see if there's anything that could be done to reduce the amount of glazing on that facade. And the number of windows has been drastically reduced on that elevation. Not much could be done in the center of the building. Towards the back, on previous concepts, there were windows going all the way towards the back of the building. That's towards the right-hand side of that elevation. Those have all been removed in order to preserve as much privacy for the rear yard of the next door property as possible. But yeah, we were not able to eliminate the windows. I think there are building code requirements for the amount of glazing for dwelling units. So
Okay.
We've done the best that we can.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, if you could bring that picture back up, I was going to ask about the exact, yeah, perfect. So I think the one delegate was referring to overlook on Jansen, so that would be the top right elevation, correct? Or yes, okay.
Top left actually.
Top left is the back of the facility?
No, top left is what's facing Jansen.
Sorry. Not what's facing Jansen, what's facing the neighbor on Jansen.
The neighbor on
top
Jansen
right.
is the bottom left.
No, I think
Yeah, that would be facing Fairway, no? Okay, I may miss.
So I think Councillor Davey is saying Ms. Cassidy is the rear of this proposed development.
Yes.
So it would be, I believe, the north elevation.
The one facing 136.
Yes.
One facing 136 would be the top right. Maybe I should have said that. Instead, would the top right?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the 136 Fairway Road is facing the bottom left, and the property to the north is facing the rendering at the top right.
Okay, thank you. And can you, with the existing zoning, like if it were not to be changed, it was the existing zoning, what's the maximum building height?
The maximum
building height under the current zoning?
Maximum building height under the current zoning? Yeah, it would be 11 meters.
11 meters. And my understanding, this building, and 11 meters, does that include roof or roof line as well?
It does not include architectural features like parapets, but it goes to basically the highest point from the highest point of grade to the highest point of the structural part of the building.
Okay. And my understanding is the building as proposed is 9.9 meters? So
That's
it's lower than the actual existing zoning on the building in terms of overlook?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, typically pitch to the roof, but some people argue it should be the middle of the pitch, but that's for another day. Councillor Schneider.
Yes, thank you, Chair Singh. Just a quick question about the amenity space. Will there be some sort of barrier or I don't forget, the name is slipping my mind right now, but just something would block the view and for safety measures too, that would prevent the people who are using the amenity space for looking out and looking over and having people possibly look into them?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So there would be a guard that partially blocks the view of the amenity space from the street, and that would be visible on the elevation drawings that I showed. So you wouldn't be able to see people's legs and maybe up to their waist, maybe a little bit higher. Does that answer your question?
Okay, excellent. And that is all the questions of from the committee for staff. I'll get a mover and then we can move on to comments if necessary. It's moved by Councillor Schneider. Any comments? Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Chair Singh. I beat you to the punch, Stephanie. I'm not going to lie. At first, when I saw this development and the proposal come forward, the actual space of the units definitely gave me a bit of a shock. But also knowing, again, looking at videos and pictures online, what you can do with this space. Also gives me a little bit of relief that it's not as small as I envisioned in my head. Now, obviously, it's not 1,000 square foot or an 800 square foot bungalow. I understand that. But as I alluded earlier, there are people who are living in tents and huts and on the street. And I can be assured that somebody who's living in some of those situations would love to have a place where they could cook a meal, go to the washroom, and live in relative safety. And so I will support this. Again, and I understand the last delegate, her concerns about low-income housing and I take that personal because I grew up in low-income housing in Hamilton. And so I guess I would be considered one of those people. And actually, because of the programs and because of some of the societal chances that I was able to be given, I'm here now. And so sometimes people just need to be given a chance to turn their life around and to want to better their own situation. And so I think, this is new to the city, these types of living units. And my hope is if this is successful, this could be a way to allow people to get into housing markets. Instead of $300,000 condos, well, then we build something similar or maybe a little bit bigger, but that allows them to get into that market to own a home. I appreciate the fact that 800 to 1,000 or 1,100 for a rent. I've said around here many times, I have people who work at my workplace in healthcare who are making, decent money, but can't get ahead because they're paying $2,000 or $2,400 for a one-bedroom unit. And so I hope this is the start of some of these micro units. And again, new is scary for all of us, but you can look at places around the world that have similar units, and the sky isn't really falling over there. Actually, it's allowing people to live a decent life and a safe life. So I will support this.
Yes, thank you. I too am looking forward to supporting this. I really am looking forward to having more people housed, even if this is an entry-level housing or if this is a return back to entry-level housing, having lived experiences. I've recently toured Magnolia House in 97 Victoria Street, and I'm very familiar with the size of these units and what that means. I want to be clear that, yes, this is shelter, and I believe that if the neighbors in this neighborhood welcome these people, it would be more than shelter, that it could be a real chance at a home. And so I want to encourage all of us to realize that not all of us have the ability for a bungalow, a two-bedroom, sometimes not even a one-bedroom, but it means being up off the street. It means maybe having a second or third chance, which we all deserve. And it's uncomfortable, and I wish it wasn't the case, but it is the reality of the city we live in and of our country. So I'm excited to see this different type of housing. I'm excited to see what we learn, how we can serve and give people access to tools that they need to change the trajectory of their lives. And so, thanks to the Maxwell Group for envisioning this and for taking the chances and navigating all the systems to see this type of housing built. And I also too applaud that this isn't in the downtown area where many of the housing types like this are seen. many. So I am thankful to see that this is spread out, giving people a chance at different accesses of amenities, different accesses of the city. And so in this decision, I just want to say that I hope Kitchener continues to be a welcoming place for all neighbors.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to first speak to the impacts on the neighbors, and this is something that we see all the time in dealing with development. And the reality is, if they could, under the existing zoning, someone could come along and build something that's going to look into backyards and that sort of thing and cause disruption. And it's not something we take lightly, but it's a reality of building a city. So I am confident that staff did the best they could and the applicant did the best they could to minimize things like overlook into neighboring yards. With that part of the way, I'm actually, as someone that's really followed the tiny home movement and been interested in it and looked at different models and that sort of thing, I'm actually really excited to see this, this project coming to Kitchener. The economic reality is we need a new entry point for people that are starting out in wanting a place to live, place to rent. And I look at my own kids, I look at myself when I was younger, I would, as a single guy, I could 100% live in this. I've seen some of the models, a 240 square foot place, right? Like, you got your TV and your computer and your bed, and like I hope that we can get a tour once it is built, so that members of council can see what I've seen. Because the reality is, as Councillor Deneau mentioned, we do have people living in tents. We have multiple people living in bedrooms. We recently approved the lodging house bylaw, and if it were me, again, thinking back to when I was younger and single, I would 1,000 times rather have a place like this than a bedroom shared with, 4 or 5 other people, and a shared kitchen, everything else. This is true autonomy. So I do see this as a model to the future. Of course, we would love for everyone to have a mansion, but that's just not economic reality today. We do need new entry points in terms of having a home of your own. So again, I'm excited to see this, and I will be supporting it.
Thank you, Chair Singh. I want to thank all the people who delegated, who came in tonight to speak. I want to thank our staff, and I want to thank Mr. Maxwell. We hear all the time around this council the need for affordable housing. Every time we have a development come forth, we ask, will there be any affordable units? Here is a development that is going to be totally affordable. One of the, we do receive a lot of comments on this, and there were 2 emails, and I shared them with everybody. One of the comments was on the more positive side is, they can understand how an apartment like this size is not suitable or attractive to everyone, but it will be for some. Another email I got was a little more blunt. Councillor Schneider, I see you're the councillor where the apartments at 132 Fairway Road okay, it's about time some affordable apartments were built. What took so long? All we ever see are 2 and 3 bedroom apartments and monster homes getting built. I will be the first in line to rent an apartment there. Finally, a simple apartment that's close to buses and everything. Get this done. That's another comment. So this is new. I get it, and it does mean change, but this will be a starting point for somebody. This will give somebody a place to call their own space, a space where they can collect their thoughts, where they have a sense of being. And as Councillor Stretch said, if there's welcoming in the neighborhood, that would be great. There is the Centerville Chicopee Community Center close by. There are great parks. There are amenities. There is transit. This is a building where, and I've heard this before, where I don't want a car. I can't afford a car. I need to put my finances into my housing, and that's what I'll do. And I'm getting a little emotional here because I just picking up on Councillor Deneau's comments about those people. And he was one of those people that lived in an affordable housing development. He's one of the most hardworking, honest, respectful people you would ever want. He cares for this city and cares for people so much. And had he not had that opportunity in a development like that, he probably wouldn't be serving here on our council today. And so I'm sorry, just getting a little emotional, so I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Chair Singh, and thank you to everyone who came in to delegate on this, both those who are supportive of the project and those who understandably may have some concerns, because the reality is the project that's in front of us is proposing something different and something new and something that brings about change, and change and something that we're not used to can sometimes be intimidating. It can be scary, and as individuals and as human beings, we in a world that sometimes feels to be changing too much, it can even feel overwhelming at times. But you know, I think as we look at this issue, and as we look at the issue of housing and trying to make sure that everyone in our community has one of the basic human needs that we know exist, and that's a roof over their heads, and being part of a caring neighborhood and part of a caring community, this is an option on the housing continuum that will make sure that a portion of our community who right now is either potentially living in housing that they can't afford and not being able to meet other needs, or is not able to find housing at all of their own, or maybe even is homeless, this is going to help ensure that those individuals have an option that they can call home in a neighborhood where hopefully they will be welcomed, and in a neighborhood where people can connect with each other and build something that everyone can be proud of. The Centerville Chicopee neighborhood is actually one where we built our very first community center, and I think that probably goes back, I'm guessing, some 50 years ago now. Maybe not quite 50, when Centerville Chicopee was originally built. And the city's investing in that center right now. The school board the Catholic school board has been investing in a new school. St. Patrick's School will be opening up a couple blocks away with a new school on September 3rd, reopening on a site where a school stood many years ago. And of course, Howard Robertson is across the way. This won't be the answer for everyone. This won't be the right fit for everyone, but it will be the right fit for some people in the community. And you know, while this may be new to our community in terms of these kinds of micro units, they're not new to urban centers elsewhere in North America and around the world. And so, you know, as a community, I think we need to find ways to support this, to make sure that everyone can have a place to live, a place to call home. You know, one of the things that we as a city have been working hard on is supporting things like our Love My Hood neighborhood strategy, where communities of all kinds, with, you know, folks who are renters and owners, you know, older and younger people and so on, come together and look at the things that bind them together as human beings, as opposed to the things that drive them apart. And so, you know, while I understand that a decision on this that's affirmative may be scary and intimidating, I'm hoping that as this moves forward, and if it does get the approval of council tonight and moves forward, there will be a point where we can look back on it and say, you know what, there's some pretty awesome people living here that are new neighbors, and we have an opportunity to connect with them and build a stronger community. And so I will be supporting this. I want to thank the Maxwells for thinking outside of the box and bringing a new idea forward, because the only way we're going to tackle this housing issue in communities like Kitchener across the country and beyond is by doing things differently. Trying to do the same thing over and over again is not going to solve this problem. So I will be supporting this, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just make my comments. There's no one else in the queue. One of the words that was used through the comments from my colleagues was opportunity. And that's essentially what I see this proposal, a proposal for opportunity for a very different type of housing stock that we just don't have in our community. Others have already said it. Again, just because we haven't built something like this doesn't mean it's going to be the wrong product. We have to build it to see it. We have to build it to see where the needs exist. The other opportunity is opportunities for those being able to move in. If someone working on a minimum wage, if they're a single person, they just essentially can't afford a $1,700 apartment. They need a place to stay. And they're doing well, they're working hard. It just happens to be they're making minimum wage. That doesn't mean that we should take away their dignity and not be able to provide housing options for them. That is the very nature of this body, to create opportunity for everyone. But that being said, I do understand from the perspective of the residents. I understand that they've lived there for a long time, for generations. Multi-generational households there that have seen a neighborhood in a very single way. And this is transformational, maybe too much change, I get that. But that too much change is happening all across. One of the delegates mentioned that they moved from the GTA from Toronto. Toronto has been constantly in flux. It was, grew to what it is right now from a smaller community. Again, it's thriving, and so will Kitchener thrive. And I think we will thrive by creating more opportunities like this. So I do congratulate our staff, especially, again, the Maxwell Group. Thank you for considering this proposal. Of course, you're looking at creating an opportunity for, the business that you're in. But again, congratulations to our staff to think outside the box and consider an approval for the level of density on this type of a lot that thinks outside of normal metrics of what a house typically is, or the requirements for the parking that it is, or the setbacks. It's enabling units where we're utilizing technologies now through the type of, the furnitures that can be augmented to create a small space, large space, livable space. And I'm glad that staff did push back in creating amenity space on the site that's going to be rooftop terrace. And that hopefully will ease some of the concerns with the residents that they don't want congregation outside onto the sidewalk, necessarily onto the street, because it is a busy area. That the property itself encompassing amenity space will accommodate that. And we have parks in the near area that will get better utilized because we have more housing coming in the area. All around, it's change. Change is sometimes seen with fear. But I can tell you this much, we hear this on a regular basis where residents, when they haven't seen a certain type of housing coming into the neighborhood, they're very resistant. They come with a lot of apprehension. But guess what? Once it gets built, approved and built, we rarely hear those concerns back because they see it. In the long run, it added value to the neighborhood. It added value to those neighbors where they have neighbors coming in that may be a helping hand, you never know. They may be the very person that helps you to shovel your snow. So change is not bad, change is good. I think this is good change on the type of housing that we're currently proposing. I think I want to go a step further. That's why I was really encouraging for us to see the type of internal mechanics of how you make this smaller space more livable. Because at the end of the day, this is a public funded proposal. The Maxwell Group was able to apply for affordable housing grant that allows them to make the application and towards CMHC and the City of Kitchener, $60,000 from the City of Kitchener towards it, which is fantastic. That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see more of it, but we want a blueprint. What you're able to do, I want 100 other organizations to be able to do the same. So you're treading the new ground. Please make what you're doing more readily available so that others can take opportunity and we can create more housing at a faster pace. All right, it's been moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you, everyone. And this means that the application is approved through the committee. It would go to council for ratification. Okay, so we're 2 hours in. It was a heavy topic. Maybe we'll just take a 5-minute break. I'll buy a break, and then we reconvene at 8 o'clock sharp. Just remember that when I'm reapplying to be a committee chair, so. Okay, everyone, let's take a seat. Okay, everyone, let's get this, we're live? Yes, yeah, that's what I'm telling everyone. Let's get back to the meeting, let's take a seat. Next item in the discussion items is Kitchener 2051 preferred growth scenario. Fun topic. We have staff first presenting. John, you're presenting first. You have 5 minutes. Whenever you're ready, cue in. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and members of committee. We're here to discuss the preferred approach to growth as part of the Kitchener 2051 project. Kitchener 2051 is a project to develop a new official plan for the city. In determining the preferred approach on where and how we accommodate new people and jobs to 2051 is a key component of developing the new official plan. The preferred approach to growth is shaped by many inputs, including the city's strategic plan, community values that emerged over the course of community engagement that began last fall, big ideas that represent important areas that we are looking to make significant progress in, and focus areas that help us identify how to achieve them, and the criteria and community input that were used to evaluate the approaches to growth. All of these inputs will lead to official plan policies that will ultimately implement the vision for Kitchener in 2051. A number of months ago, city staff developed and modeled 3 different ways that we can accommodate new people and jobs across the city to 2051. The 3 approaches include supporting transit, which largely accommodates new people and jobs along the city's major arterial and collector roadways and at major intersections. New urban centers, which focuses new people and jobs at 4 key nodes, as well as around the ION LRT stations. And evolving neighborhoods, which spreads out people and jobs across the city. These approaches were evaluated based on a set of technical criteria and feedback from the community. The technical criteria looked at how existing and planned water, wastewater, and transportation infrastructure, among other criteria, can accommodate new people and jobs across each of the 3 approaches. Additional details on this evaluation criteria is included in Attachment A of the staff report. The evaluation indicated that all 3 approaches to growth had similar results from a technical and community feedback standpoint, and they all broadly align with the evaluation objectives. All of the approaches to growth align with major decisions that have been made over the past decade, including decisions to direct more people and jobs toward ION LRT stations and frequent transit, the downtown, existing neighborhoods across the city, and out of the protected countryside. Each of the approaches to growth that were assessed works for Kitchener and positions the city well for the future. As a result, staff have taken the best elements from each of the approaches and combined them to develop the preferred approach to growth. By taking the best elements from each approach, the preferred approach makes efficient use of existing infrastructure and builds on existing strategic areas of growth, including around the city's ION LRT stations and nodes and corridors. This includes expanding the strategic growth areas to include 4 urban centers, approximately at Ottawa and River, Fisher, Hallman, and Highland, Blockline and Strasbourg, and in the Dundee secondary plan area. The preferred approach to growth continues to protect the natural heritage system and prime agricultural lands in the protected countryside. It continues to recognize and plan for new homes and jobs in all neighborhoods across the city, including in the Dundee secondary plan area, and it continues to protect Kitchener's industrial employment areas. The preferred approach plans for people living closer to community facilities like parks and community centers, closer to grocery stores, and frequent transit stops. And it also leverages opportunities to plan for new community facilities through the 4 urban centers using planning tools such as the Community Planning Permit System, and community improvement plans. Going forward, city staff are planning to continue developing the new official plan over the next couple of months, followed by engagement with First Nations, the community, and collaborators. We are planning to bring forward a new official plan for adoption by council in 2026. Staff are therefore recommending that the preferred approach to growth, as presented in Report DSD 2025-318, be used to inform the development of the draft official plan. This concludes this presentation.
Thank you very much. Short and sweet. I think staff are really looking at, through questions and also through comments, a direction of affirming that this is the right approach and this is the right direction as we lead to our official plan. Questions of staff? Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Chair Singh. Thank you for the presentation. So obviously it's not a fine science when we're doing projections based on growth or based on immigration. So the numbers that we're looking at, are they based on existing immigration policies or future immigration policies that we may expect the federal government to relax or tighten?
Through the chair, the population forecast that was developed through Kitchener 2051 was done so by technical consultants. That report is published on the project website. Those assumptions included, looked at past trends as well as future trends, and did take into account some recent policy changes on the immigration front. So I think broadly speaking, the outcome in terms of the amount of people that we're planning to 2051 remains fairly stable in terms of all of these changes at the federal and provincial levels. And that is something that has been captured through our consultants as part of developing the population and jobs forecast.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Yeah, so early stage, again, one of my larger concerns is source groundwater protection. I noticed that was referenced in the report as well. I'm just wondering how that filters through with the constantly changing rules and the downloading of planning rules, and that authority being at the regional level. Do we engage directly with the region in terms of the impacts of potential impacts to the recharge areas?
Through the chair, conversations are ongoing with the region, specifically around source water protection as it relates to this project. So those are conversations that will ultimately inform land use policy as well as other general policies, and it is a consideration as part of this work. So those conversations have occurred and remain ongoing.
Okay, and is it safe to say that at this point, early stage, or have you not ruled it out yet, that the countryside line is expected not to be crossed as a part of result of this work?
Through the chair, that is correct. So as part of the three approaches to growth that were assessed, as well as the preferred approach to growth, there were a number of core criteria that were carried forward through Regional Official Plan Amendment 6.
Okay, looks good. Thank you. I'm happy to move this, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. The item is moved. I think the report itself is pretty self-explanatory. Looks good. Moved by Councillor Davey. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Thank you. (6.2) Parkland Acquisition Strategy. Mr. Stevenson.
Good evening, and thank you for your attention. This is the final matter of the evening. So tonight I am joined by a few colleagues that council may not be familiar with. On my far right is Simon Latinum. He is our project manager for the Parkland Acquisition Strategy, as well as Becca Robinson, who is our other parks project manager. So the two of them are leading us through some strategic projects where we are reimagining and looking at parkland in new ways. And two of their main projects are the parkland acquisition strategy, which is part of the current strategic plan of council, and the other one is going to be POP spaces, which we're going to report back to you at a later date, so that's not in front of you tonight. And I'm also joined by their manager, Sandro Bassanis, who is the manager of site plan, who oversees these projects. So please join me in welcoming Simon, and he's going to give the presentation this evening.
Thank you. Simon, you have 5 minutes to make a presentation. Go ahead.
The Chair, good evening, members of the committee. My name is Simon Latham, and I am the Parks Planning and Development Project Manager here at the City of Kitchener. I'm here this evening to present a high-level overview of the parkland acquisition strategy and what we have thus far. So getting into the project timeline, in early July, we established the project advisory team, and met with internal staff from varying departments. We presented them with the project charter, draft acquisition strategy outline, as well as the criteria. We gathered feedback from staff, and then in early or late July of this year, we brought it to the corporate leadership team. We've received their feedback and endorsement, and that brings us to tonight, presenting to the committee. Understanding we're still very early on in the process, however, we want to bring this to committee for information purposes as well as for initial feedback. The Parkland Acquisition Strategy is an implementation tool building off work from that has previously been done in our Spaces 2022 document. Spaces has identified a gap between our current level of parkland provision and our target of 10 square meters per person in 24 of our planning communities. This gap is projected to widen as development increases, and with that, an increased population growth. Bill 23, More Homes Built Faster Act, has reduced our ability to achieve these targets outlined in Spaces. And just a little graphic there is the 24 planning communities that were identified as critical high, medium, and low acquisition priority areas. On the screen is a map showing the varying planning communities in their acquisition priority level, and this just showcases there's a need throughout the entire city of Kitchener for parkland acquisition. This isn't a localized to one area, it's spread across the entire city. The objective is to develop a parkland acquisition strategy that will achieve our parkland provision goal by enabling staff to efficiently assess and act on opportunities to acquire more lands for parks. How this will be done is through varying mechanisms that we've drafted for parkland acquisition. The acquisition strategy will look at the following 7. We will continue to pursue parkland acquisition through development applications where feasible. We'll explore purchasing privately owned lands through the open market, explore long-term lease options, repurposing existing city-owned lands. So this will be more of a proactive approach of kind of looking at an inventory of existing city-owned lands and seeing which of those could be potentially turned into parkland. Looking at partnerships with school boards, the Conservation Authority, as well as different branches of government, so federal, provincial, and regional, gifted or donated lands, and then privately owned public spaces, which, as Garrett mentioned, will be a separate process and project that we'll be bringing to you later. The draft criteria for the parkland acquisition, as outlined in our report, has 4 levels of criteria. It's a tiered criteria, with the first being mandatory criteria, which must be met for all acquisition mechanisms, so a go, no-go scenario. These criteria look at, is the land programmable table land, and is it unencumbered in its current or remediated state? If those both check yes, we'll move on to the primary criteria, which will be weighted points for each, with a minimum threshold that must be met. The primary criteria is based on size, priority acquisition area, so if it's in a critical high, medium, or low, as well as if it has street frontage, which is crucial for visibility and utility connections. If that weighted threshold is met, we'll move on to secondary criteria, which is based around the configuration, so the shape of the parcel, as well as the grading, amongst others. The last set of criteria is tertiary, which are more of nice-to-haves that help achieve other city objectives, such as tree canopy coverage or subwatersheds, etc. So what is not, what the parkland acquisition strategy is not going to look at is leisure or facility acquisition or natural areas acquisition. This is strictly going to be for lands for park purposes. It's not going to look at vast parks, which are parcels 10 hectares and above. That will be done through a separate project with a separate project team. It's not going to look at alternative spaces that are included in the Spaces 2022 document. So examples of those are cemeteries, conservation lands, hydro corridors, etc. It's not going to look at POPs, and it's not going to look at identifying specific parcels for acquisition. So it's not going to list out addresses of parcels that we are going to look to acquire. As far as next steps for this project include small working sessions with council. We are still in the fact-finding process for this strategy, and the project's team sees importance of coming together in smaller working sessions with members of council to receive your feedback. These sessions will be happening over the remainder of the summer and into the fall of this year. This will then prepare a draft parkland acquisition strategy using the feedback from the smaller sessions, including a full financial analysis to inform different acquisition models and options. And then we will report back to council in Q1 of 2026. Thank you very much for your time and attention. We are now available for any initial comments, feedbacks, and questions.
Thank you. We have Councillor Davey first.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to see this for us, but just following up, because I don't remember when it was some time ago when there was an inventory presentation that was made to council. And to be honest, an annoyance of mine was that all and every school board land and park was left out of that mapping. And I looked at the mapping here too, and it looks like, at least it's tough to say because it's tough to tell exactly, but it looks like for the local parks map on the final part of the report here, they're still not listed, whereas I believe that in most cases, those lands should be included in the square meter, the 10 square meters per person. So is there a plan to relook at that information and incorporate it before this comes back to council?
Through the chair, I believe as we work through the draft acquisition strategy, that is something we would consider to look at and reconsidering those school board lands as part of that 10 square meter park provision.
Okay, yeah, I think we're just underselling ourselves otherwise. The other question I had is, sorry, I just needed some clarification too on hydro corridor lands. First of all, who owns those, and did you say that we're not going to be looking at those as part of a potential acquisition?
That is correct. Through the chair, areas that are listed in our Spaces 2022 document are not going to be considered. So that's all conservation land, cemeteries, golf courses, hydro lands, stuff like that, similar to those.
Do we have significant hydro? I'm just trying to think across the city. Do we have any significant hydro corridor lands, and is it possible for us to program it in any way, shape, or form?
Through you, Chair. So we certainly do have some hydro corridor lands in Southwest Kitchener. They stretch all the way across, kind of on a 45-degree angle. We've utilized a lot of that land through subdivision planning for trail connections and for passive recreation. The parkland acquisition strategy would be looking at meeting that 10 square meters per person for active park space. So programmable park space where it's unencumbered land. It's land that's going to be able to serve as active park space. We certainly, as we're going through the process, I think, and we're hearing even from our internal teams, and as we're studying this process, that those lands that are not exactly perfect for parkland, but can be adjacent to parkland, that increase access, that increase passive recreation, they do add value. But our primary goal will be to acquire that unencumbered parkland that is easily programmable for the long term.
Okay, that's helpful. And apologies if it was in the report. I know it was in the past. I don't necessarily expect it yet. But is there a comparison to Kitchener in terms of parkland per person to other municipalities like across the province, country, world, frankly, that we can look at to see, how far we are ahead or behind?
Through the chair, yes, so that was part of the Parks Master Plan through Places and Spaces. There was comparisons. So we are taking on that work in the goal of 10 square meters per person, and that's what we're looking to achieve. So council supported that goal. One of the report backs as part of the strategy is to figure out, to achieve that goal in a growing city, in our current legislative reality, what is the financial cost in order to be able to provide that, and that's really going to be the full financial analysis and is going to help inform decision making.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Singh. Thanks for this. Lots to think about. When it comes to parks, what's our definition of a park? Are we thinking like a standard park that's got a play structure and swings, or are we looking at different types and uses of parks? I say that because in my ward, we just completed a wonderful park network plan, which there's some parks has a nice dog park part of it. Others have some great basketball facilities and play structures. So can you give us maybe a better idea of what we're looking at when we say the word park? Parkland?
So through the chair, I think we're looking at all different types of parks. So the Parkland Master Plan evaluates parks based on size, and it also evaluates different parks and what kind of purpose they can serve within a community. And there is an identification for each of the planning communities what type of park is needed. What will be an interesting exercise is when we look at potential lands for acquisition, it may, we may look at an acquisition that meets a certain criteria of park that's already been provided within a planning community, but maybe this is, there's a future strategic opportunity that could grow in future and turn into a different classification of park. So we're building on the classifications that are within the Parks Master Plan now, based on the needs and what's existing.
Okay. Another opportunity could possibly be faith communities. Some of them have a lot of land, and sometimes we've talked about housing options there, but could some faith communities, their extra land, be considered for partnership?
Through the chair, yeah, that's something we definitely look at. That we group that into donated or gifted lands, but maybe it's fair to call that out separately.
Okay.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Another thing I would hope we can maybe take a look at is reimagining some of our current parks. I can speak of one that's close to where I live in my ward, where it's been the same for a long time. They used to have a baseball diamond. The backstop is still there, but the grass has overgrown it. So I just love, again, what we've done with the park network in one area of my ward, and I wonder if there's opportunities there to reimagine our current spaces to make them, more user-friendly or more, responding to the needs of the current neighborhood.
Yeah, and our colleague, Mr. Paris, is here this evening as well, and his team will continue to look at that. With the Parkland project manager, what their role really is to look for those opportunities, acquire the land, negotiate them, whether through a development application or for acquisitions with our realty team, our economic development team, and then deliver that opportunity to our design and development team, which will actually engage with the community program and develop the actual park spaces. So the role of Becca and Simon is to actually get the land, and then the creative part of it and how do we deliver it and meet our community needs, we rely on our design and development team, which are, they're well skilled in that area.
Great. And just one last thing possible to consider is the green space along some of our trails. I know I have a trail, Otterwood Greenway, in my ward that has a lot of space along the trail, and there could be opportunity there for recreational play structures or outdoor exercise equipment, or just some sort of amenity, gathering space, benches, whatever. So that might be one more thing to add in there, but it's an exciting time, and thanks for your work on this.
Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Chair Singh. And I always love these discussions around the table. Councillor Schneider, some great ideas around faith spaces and that as well. So some good creativity here. My question is, like Councillor Davies, around the school board parks. And what exactly is your direction with those? Because being a former school board trustee, that land is pretty sacrosanct. It is their space between Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. And so I'm wondering what the direction is there. If you could expand on that, please, or whomever would like to.
Through the chair, the plan is they're supportive spaces, so they're not parks by definition. We'll never call them parks, but they are supportive open spaces, and that's how they're defined in our master plan as well. So we're very clear that they're not part of the system, and that's part of what we have talked to the school boards about too, and they confirmed, and they're on that page too. So just to be clear that they are not parks, but they are recognized as part of the recreational outdoor system.
Yeah, and that's where my problem lies, in that we really can't be considering them as parks and as recreational places because of the jurisdictions that are around them that are really important. So that's where I kind of hesitate on considering them as a piece of this. I think that we need to be able to look at our own places and be putting our direction more into that. So have we had conversations with the school board about this?
Through the chair, yes, we did. This was, I want to say 2022, early on, before writing spaces as part of the Parks Master Plan. Absolutely, we had those conversations.
And their thoughts on it? I just want to be clear, sorry?
Yeah, they are separate. They are not park spaces, and they should not be defined as such.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councillor Davy Keating saying I beg to differ. Councillor Davy?
I beg to differ. No, and like seriously, like I'm talking about, like I think we're talking semantics here because I'm trying to understand like what exactly it is we're talking about, because like my entire life I've lived in this city, including where I live now, is a fine example. There's a public school that is actually equidistant from a city park, a sizable city park, Tecumseh Park and Crestview School, and there are, just because there happens to be a basketball court there and it's a larger field, there's probably 5 times as many people on average using the school playground every day of the week. Like, sorry, I know it's like from 3 o'clock when they go to school till late in the evening and all weekends. Like, we're talking about, like, we're speaking on behalf of our citizens here. Citizens don't care whether it's a park that we own or a park or an open space that they can use the school owns. So I just want to make sure we're being very, very specific in this, that we're not saying, oh, this place has a deficit because we didn't include a massive schoolyard right beside it and we're going to try and acquire land there. That makes no sense to me. So that's why I'm saying it needs to be included as part of this process. Just, again, I just want to be crystal clear on that, because we do have limited funds. We have to make sure it goes where it goes. So sorry, that was a comment, Mr. Chair. Yes. My apologies. Just
remember next time you're chairing. Councillor Chad. Actually, Mr. Garrett, do you want to add something further? Or?
Through Chair.
Mr. Stevenson, sorry.
I saw a question in there, so I thought I'd answer. So when we talk about partnerships with the school board, one example that we negotiated through a development application was the St. Patrick's School in Kinsey Park, where it actually made more sense for the school to have a frontage on different streets, and then we were able to negotiate a land swap deal and land use permissions through an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment. So the park is now interior to the neighborhood, and the school board has bus lay-by access directly to a regional road. So really, the strategy will help give us the opportunity to look at those experiences and those opportunities where there may be, the school boards, a lot of schools are being redeveloped, and looking at those opportunities if there's opportunity for parkland, and notwithstanding Mr. Paris's comment that they're not considered parkland under our strategy, there may be opportunities as schools look at their own assets and redevelop their own school sites.
Mr. Chapman?
Through Mr. Chair, at the risk of weighing in, I think there's a way to have both scenarios here. I think we would all agree that all the different park types we've described tonight are not created equal. So hydro corridor can be a community amenity, but it's not the same as an unencumbered private or public park. Similarly, hazard lands may feel like an active park to the neighborhood, but we know that they're limited in terms of their use. In the report in front of you today, I think staff did a good job to separate out citywide parks from local parks, and it strikes me that there are other overlays that we should build in here so that we consider what are all of the outdoor recreation spaces available to a community to avoid the scenario that Councillor Davey has described, where if we look at only local parks, we might say this area is underserved and therefore is a priority, but when we consider school sites, hazard lands, trail corridors, we may find that on balance it's actually well served. And so I think that there will be a nuance here in terms of looking at city-owned, unencumbered public parks, but then the overlay on top of that to say what else is in the mix, and that may help to shape the priorities that council sets for acquisition.
Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, I apologize if I ask questions that have already been asked. I don't know, I have comments. Where do I want to begin? Sorry. So in a 2022 report, number INS 2022-373, there are some directions that staff were given, such as to identify specific properties of interest for acquisition or repurpose, etc. Staff be directed to consider prior to the sale of any city-owned property that such property be considered for use as parkland in any community having a higher critical need for parkland acquisition, that staff be directed to investigate and bring a report to council before the 2024 budget cycle on other ways in which parkland acquisition might be advanced and funded. So this was back in 2022, and in this report, it refers to 2010 and, talk about parkland acquisition. And here we are in 2025, and we're further going to delay the process of parkland acquisition to essentially 2027. So I'm just a bit concerned about what's being presented to us here, and I wonder if you can speak to it.
Through you, Chair. So the parkland acquisition strategy is one that it's a project that has had to evolve, and it's one that is going to continue to evolve. So there have been significant legislative changes in our ability to collect parkland dedication, whether that's cash in lieu or land, and the province signaled that early on around that time. So looking at how to acquire parkland became a more important part of the strategy, and the scope of the strategy also continued to grow. What's important is this strategy follows the work of Places and Spaces, our Parks Master Plan, work that has undergone considerable engagement and has been supported by Council. So this is the tool and mechanism in the current legislative framework that we can acquire those objectives and meet those goals that Council has set. And it may have to continue to evolve. We don't know if there's going to be further changes to legislation, but the reality is our ability to acquire parkland continues to change. And so we've had to pivot our approach, and that's why the parkland acquisition strategy now looks at 7 different opportunities, because we don't see it as acquiring parkland only through development applications moving forward. That the scope of the projects had to grow, and we're going to have to look at new tools and more tools in order to achieve that goal.
So, and I get that. I get the fact that, through parkland dedication and maybe development charges, I don't know if that was ever used for parkland or not, but that, yes, things have changed, but we still need parkland, right, in these critical areas, not the whole city necessarily, but there are 5 critical areas that are laid out in, what is the list? In Appendix B, and I don't even know where I got this, but maybe it was the same report that I'm referring to here. The city center, the core civic center, or city community core, I guess, civic center, King East, KW Hospital, Pioneer Tower East. All of them are considered critical. And yet we've had no movement since 2010 on the acquisition of parkland in those areas. So I guess I just don't know where to go with this as far as asking a question. I have a couple amendments that I'd like to make to the report. I don't know if this is the time to do it or if I should hold off on it.
Do you have them already?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to finish with your questions and then?
Well, I'm a bit flustered right now, so I don't know what my questions are, so.
Okay. Madam Clerk, can you put up the amendment?
And these are coming, just for the information, I'm pulling these from the 2022 report. I've modified the wording of them because I think these are two requests that we had in 2022 that we gave staff direction to follow up with, and they haven't been completed. So I'm bringing them back and sort of trying to highlight them. While they may be somewhat covered in the report, I think they need to be highlighted and, more front and center in the process.
I'll look to the clerk. Is amendment in keeping of the overall direction as an amendment, or does it go totally contrary to the direction? The reason why I say this is then it's not really an amendment, it's a separate motion.
Through the chair, you have a couple of timelines provided. Staff have already provided a timeline related to Q1 of 2026 to bring the report back. So you can bring forward some additional direction to look at specific items, but the timelines may not fully arrive. Staff have already noted that they plan on having small groups of council. These items could be discussed through that process, and a full amendment may not be required. It would have to be up to you as to whether or not you think the direction is needed through a motion.
Okay. As to the earlier part in Q4 2025 in government lands, does not the report already address that we would be looking at all avenues as well with government lands also? And clarification from Councillor Chapman, when you say government lands, are you saying other orders of government other than the City of Kitchener?
Yes, I'm saying all levels of government, yeah.
Okay. To staff, the question was, isn't that already in the report?
Through you, Chair, yes. So looking at city-owned lands, so city-owned, government-owned lands, as well as partnerships with the province and the federal government. We're not limiting to just land. We don't know if there's going to be additional opportunities, but we want to explore if there are different partnerships at different levels of government.
Okay, so you're just simply, so that's already in the report, staff already looking at wanting to explore that. Are you just saying that you want something back sooner?
I want it to be front and center and highlight. So that's why I've brought these amendments forward, and the timeline is slightly different to what's in the report.
Right. Okay. I think general consensus is the same. All right, those amendments are before the committee. Yeah.
Sorry, you do have different timelines. So right now, staff have committed to reporting back in Q1 of 2026.
So I was going to wait to see if members of the committee had questions of the timing of staff. So I didn't want to ask all the questions. I wanted to let them be guided. Yeah, can you have the amendment up? Yeah, so I'll see if members of the committee have questions. Yeah. Mayor Rabinovich?
So I guess maybe one question. Now, I recognize what's proposed here is capital, presumably. But council will recall it. I mean, we're from a budget perspective, the direction that we're heading is a stand pat budget for 2026. Because we know that we have a number of operating impacts as we bring Kirk on board and so on. So I'm just wondering, in the absence of Mr. Lautenbach, Mr. Chapman, how would we maybe handle this from
Through the chair, I would direct council to the financial implications section of the report. Councillor Chapman has alluded to property tax funding and a potential special levy. In the report, staff have identified that we wanted to do a full financial analysis to look at all funding models and options. That could include tax funding, grant funding, public-private partnerships, and other funding sources. I think we're talking about the difference of 3 months or 1 quarter here, and for recommendations that could be implemented as part of the 2027 budget. So I would suggest that the timeline that staff have presented is what's needed to do a comprehensive treatment. If that timeline is rushed, it will not be a full analysis the way that we would have intended in the council report. You have our commitment around this timeline. That material would be in front of council in Q1 and can be implemented as part of the 2027 budget process.
Apart from the financial implication, the fact that the report is endeavoring to get appropriate feedback from members of council. If you're approaching the 2026 budget, when does that process start? I'm guessing it's already started among staff?
Yeah, our internal review meetings are happening in a couple of weeks, and then after that, we start to prepare the budget presentation for council. So it's fair to say it's very advanced at this point in time.
Right. So would staff even be able to, the fact that the budget's already processed, to be able to compile the whole report with the necessary feedback prior to the 2026 budget?
Through the chair, I think on this narrow question of what would be what was the term for it, a special tax program to support Parkland Reserve, certainly we could prepare a report on that. I think what it would lack is the full analysis around need and prioritization, and it wouldn't be comprehensive in terms of looking at other funding sources. And so I think council would be best served to make that decision when you have all of that information in front of you.
Okay. I'm not going to bias anyone. I will say to you is the later part can be I think, an important discussion as part of the 2026 budget, that you can drive that as a motion, either as an amendment, like separately now, or bring that something separately that can be aligned with the overall budget process. But I'll leave it to you. I'm sorry. I got to go back and forth on the screens. That's why I can't see you. Okay. I need a bigger screen.
That's okay. So I guess why I'm trying to expedite the process a little bit is that, as I said, this came to us in 2022, where what I'm asking for here was supposed to be done in 2024. And here we are, 2025, and we're proposing to postpone it further to 2027. And I would guess, certainly in the critical areas, with the critical need areas in the downtown core, in 2027, there probably won't be any more land available to acquire. And, you know, this has been an important topic for years now, and I presume, and this is why I brought it forward, is I presume staff has done something since 2022 and earlier along these lines. So let's just put it out there.
Councilor Chapman, staff have identified through the report that they do need the necessary time to go into the first quarter of 2026. And that's why they want to be able to have the consultation with the members of council. I hear what you're saying, but I'm encouraging you that the later part of a special tax levy may be a motion that can be brought in conjunction with the budget process. I'm just asking you, do you want to include that now? If it were to fail now without the necessary fulsome conversation, it may be a challenge to bring it back forward again, because that would require motion to reconsider.
Well, I'm inclined to just leave the two amendments as they are.
Okay, as you wish. Okay, any other questions of staff? Seeing none, can I get a mover on the item? Moved by Councilor O'Dooney. Okay, I take the amendments first, I believe. I'll separately, that's what I was thinking of doing. Unrecorded? Okay. All right, recorded vote on the two items on the motions before us. The first one, which is bring for government lands and bring it back to Q4 of 2025. Seeing no questions related to it, all those in favor? Opposed? Oh, recorded vote, I'm sorry, yes. Oh, you got practice. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, like, I understand where Councillor Chapman is coming from, and I think we all would like to move forward with this in a timely manner. But it's also important that we have the right information before us. And so, while I can't support the amendments that are here today, because staff have indicated that to do the job right, they need until spring of 2026 to do that. This is an area that we as a council have committed to, and personally I continue to be committed to, but it's one that needs to be done with the appropriate due diligence to go with it. And so I'm saying that because I don't want a vote against the amendments to be interpreted as not supporting addressing our parkland acquisition strategy.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you have something to say? Okay, go ahead.
I just want you to note the wording of the amendments. It's not saying to take government-owned properties and do something with it. It's simply to identify those properties. And we've got this on maps, right? So it's just to share that, it can be ward by ward with councillors so that we know in my ward, these are the properties that are government-owned that could potentially, at some future date. So I don't think that it's a huge ask. And regarding the other one, again, it's to investigate. It's not to introduce a particular plan. It's to investigate and tell us the different options. We know that parkland dedication, the monies that we've got right now are not going to provide for the park acquisitions that we're going to need in the future. So the more we can get those two simple things out of the way, the easier it's going to be to move forward with parkland acquisition in those critical, especially in those critical areas.
Okay, I'm not really wanting to go back and forth, but yeah, okay. Before you do, just 1 second, I'm at a disservice here. I can't even see the screen. It's locked. Can you help me out? Yeah. I can't go back to the screen for the motion.
Oh, it's because the vote is on.
Oh, because the vote is on. Okay, so how do I?
So give me 1 second, I have to close the voting.
Just to the committee, because we're in the process of taking a vote. Let's cancel that one.
Okay.
So bear with me 1 second. Can you cancel that? So I can't even read the wording, so. Okay. Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Thanks. The question is actually to Mr. Paris. I think the second part, Mr. Chapman has already answered. Either Mr. Paris or Mr. Stevenson, can that list of properties, I think it would be relatively easy.
I think Mr. Chapman can add something as well.
Provide a map or so on, be made available?
Mr. Chapman, you first.
Of government properties?
Through the chair, and I appreciate the clarification, Councillor Chapman. So I'll remind council that work has already been done for all city-owned properties, and council was provided with the inventory, and so certainly we can recirculate ward by ward that inventory and that mapping. If council is interested in what are the federal and provincial properties in your wards, from the GIS system, we can map that as well. I think my major concern was with reference to reporting back in Q4 on both of those issues, and the concern being that if staff are taking time to generate staff reports to council and prepare for that content, it will take away from the comprehensive reporting. And so, Mayor Benovic, if your question is, can we supply mapping as part of the outreach to council in the fall, I think that's entirely reasonable. It's already been done for city properties and can be done easily for federal and provincial properties.
Okay, so I guess, Councillor Chapman, then, if all you're asking for in part one is for that mapping to be completed and shared, I can support that. As staff has indicated, I think if asking for a report, I can't. So just want to be clear on, is part one just asking for mapping?
If we could have it for the other government levels of government as well, yes.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking for at this stage. Yeah.
So that's part one, and then part two, Mr. Chapman has said staff really need until early 2026, so.
Okay. Recorded vote. On part one, yes, part one. On part one, recorded vote. My system is locked out again. Can you read out the report, please? Sorry, read out the amendment, the first part.
That staff be directed to identify government-owned properties of interest in each ward for repurpose to potentially address parkland deficits in identified critical need areas and bring this data forward to council in Q4 of 2025.
That last part is taken out.
So Councillor Stretch, I think you want a little bit of explanation. It's GIS mapping. Each member council will get a report of all government-owned lands, region, province, fed. Essentially, that's just what the report will do, mapping out. Not in committee, just report separately, yeah. Okay.
Oh, sort of change wording?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. And to the next item, the later part of the amendment. Staff be directed to investigate and bring report to council before the 2026 budget cycle on ways in which parkland acquisition might be advanced and funded, including exploring tools such as special tax programs that would support the Park Reserve Fund to acquire parkland. A recorded vote.
There's one member of council who hasn't voted, and hopefully the name is on your screen.
Okay. Perfect, thank you. And that doesn't carry. Can you get that, can you put that back up again? No, not, the recorded vote. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so the original motion has been moved. Remind me again, I think it was Councillor O'Dooney. Any comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? And that item carries. Thank you, everyone. Good luck going forward. And meeting adjourned.